Connectors, what's up? DK here. Hope you're having a good day. I wasn't going to put a video out today. It's Friday, and it's Friday before the 4th of July holiday. And I kind of felt compelled after some of the recent news and some of the things going on with our president. I'm deliberately saying our president because though I did not vote for him and not a big fan of President Trump ever, he is our president, and I believe that once you receive the office of the president, you should have the backing of the American people, but that's not guaranteed. And I think this is the problem that our president has, is that he feels that there's some sort of now that he has it, everybody just likes him and everybody respects him, and he can do no wrong. And I don't want to say anything like he feels he's above the law, because I think that suggests you know the law and you're aware of governing and government. And I think that's our problem here. I mean, I'll address the elephant in the room here in just a second about his tweets and his unbelievably crass, childish attitude toward women and anyone else who dares to talk against him. But let me just take one step back and realize something that I think many people thought they would just look over and maybe would have been an asset, but are now realizing is a real concern for our country. He doesn't know shit about government, and he doesn't know how to run anything like a government. Now, this might be stating the obvious, but I think this is the problem that we fall into here, is that because he doesn't know policy and procedure, and he doesn't understand Capitol Hill, and yes, he doesn't understand politics and how it really works, that's been a problem for him, because everything to him is a win. And if he doesn't feel like winning, his answer, because of his personality, I do believe, is to push back, double down, hit harder. And the reason I'm doing this video is because yesterday's press conference, the people behind him in his office, including his deputy press secretary, she came out and said, this is what the American people voted for. Somebody who, when they push back, he'll push back 10 times harder. No, that's not what people voted for. People voted for him for a myriad of reasons, but one of them is not to be a bully. Threatening the president with, you're a bully and I'll punch a bully in the nose, is not the best way to handle this situation, and nobody's suggesting that. But I think what we're suggesting is that we wanted somebody in our office always who understands the office of president is an important role, and its words matter, its positions matter, its everything that he does, says, acts, reacts to is going to be looked at. And the rest of the world, including those people who want to do us harm, take note of these things. And I think what they're finding out, quite frankly, is this person is a child and only reacts like a child does. Literally, his tweet to Mika Brzezinski and all the issue about facelift and Mar-a-Lago and all this nonsense was simply somebody doing the rubber and glue tactic. He didn't like that he was being criticized on TV, and so he lashes out in what he is suggesting is an unfiltered way to talk to his followers. But that's not what the President of the United States does. He's the president to everyone, including those of us who didn't want him at all as president. While I'm thinking about it here, let me just shift gears for a second and talk to the Let me just talk to the president for a second. Dear Mr. President, hi. My name is Doug Knight, and I live in Pennsylvania. I work in the nonprofit sector and work for amazing men and women who are doing amazing work in their communities and working hard with not a lot of support and not a lot of resources to back them. And so they stretch a dollar as best they can, and they turn their communities into positive atmospheres for growth, for innovation, and to help their fellow men and women. Seems like you've been having a tough first 6 months in your presidency, and allow me just to say this one thing with due respect, Mr. President. Swing and a miss, baby. You're doing this wrong. Full disclosure, I did not vote for you, and I wasn't a big fan of yours. Having said that, though, I had all the belief in the world after you won the Electoral College. Not the popular vote. After you won the Electoral College, I said to myself, okay, I lived 16 years in Washington. I'm a bit of a political junkie, watch all the news, read a lot of stories, what have you. There might be a silver lining in this, because he is independent, because he is a Republican with that R next to his name only to get to the job, because come on, we know you're not a Republican. With all that in mind, I thought to myself, cool, he's going to get into office and maybe he'll shake things up. Maybe he will be the first true independent president that we've ever had, and that might be pretty exciting. And maybe he can take some of his, I don't know, skills, money, influence, whatever, and make a very interesting trajectory for our American presidency moving into the 21st century. How wrong I was. Swing and a miss, baby. Mr. President, you had an amazing opportunity to do amazing things for us. You talked about infrastructure. Granted, it was for a stupid wall, but you're a builder, you said. You can get things done and build things amazingly under budget and early and do some great stuff. And I wanted to believe you. I wanted to say, that's a great idea. In fact, I'll put a link in a doobly-doo for an open letter I sent to you. I don't think you read it. Which talked about, hey, war on infrastructure. Good idea, man. You could really get roads and bridges and our ports and our train system for Amtrak and all these things, airports. You can get it all done, and you could be the infrastructure president, and alone that would solidify your legacy as a president of these United States. But no, you went the other way, and you think the whole idea of being president is to bash on your enemies and just to, sit in Castle White House and not do anything, plus get upgrades on your New York apartment and your Mar-a-Lago place and lavish money going golfing and doing these other things, and you're not actually doing the work of the office? This is how many bills, significant bills, you've put out. I know you put out your list of all these significant things you did within your first 100 days, but if you actually took time to read the list, you're taking credit for things like naming post offices. So, Mr. President, you just had a black tie fundraising gala, by the way, at Trump Hotel in Washington. That is yours, but you lease from the federal government, so you're the leaser and the landlord. Let's just put that aside for a second. You just had a fundraiser for your 2020 re-election campaign, so that assumes that you want to go through all this term and then go for an election for another one. So you've been thinking about all the time it's going to take for you to do this and get this done for the next 8 years. And good on you for the ambition. However, you better start thinking about being a president as opposed to being this guy who spends time doing Twitter wars against MSNBC hosts and bashing the New York Times, and maybe, just maybe, think about learning to be a better governor of our United States. You don't govern. You don't do much of anything except instigate. Now, maybe your hardcore followers are excited for this, and maybe you're sticking it to the mainstream media, and maybe you're showing everybody what it is, but here's the thing I want you to consider. All those fans, all those apprentice people who really thought it was super keno to have the guy who says you're fired, the big celebrity, to get into the White House, are going to realize that the things that you had said and promised are not coming true, and that they're going to question why they jumped back into politics when many of them were so disillusioned they weren't voting before, and you took all the pride in the world for telling us that these are new people coming back into the fold. They're going to realize that what they've done is a very, very major mistake, and they're not benefiting is the least of their problems. Things are getting worse for them. But it's like 160 some days into your presidency, you have time. You should swallow your ego, learn what you don't know, and pivot into becoming a better president. Learn, pivot. You're not going to do any of those things. Mr. President, it is the July 4th holiday weekend, and maybe this is good. Maybe all of us, no matter what side of the aisle you sit or wherever you are, Democrat, Republican, moderate, libertarian, maybe we can all go back to our corners and take the weekend to think about the July 4th holiday and its real meaning. The country, the birth of democracy, this amazing American experiment that we continue on doing. And maybe we could take stock into what it means to be America and what values we hold and the important truths of our country. Maybe we just need this weekend to think about this, and maybe, Mr. President, you yourself can think about what it means to be president. The office of the presidency is a serious role. It is the world's most powerful position. It has so much pressures. All the things that entail being the president, you have to learn on the fly. You can't really understand it all. But none of this, zero of this, has anything to do with who you are. And who you are is a childish bully, an embarrassment to the position, an embarrassment to the country. And as a citizen, as a voting citizen, as your boss, I'm asking you to shape up, or ship out. This is DK, thinking for me. Happy 4th, America. Nonprofit power.